Hey everyone, my name is Lauren and welcome to my channel and welcome to my very first video. I have just recently discovered the community that is Booktube and it's kind of taken over my life a little bit. I did not realize that there was this huge community of people who loved books as much as I do, and I also had not realized how much I was missing out on as far as different genres, different tropes, and it's been exciting. And so I thought, for my first Booktube video, what better video to make than my very first book haul, because I have acquired quite a bit of books over the past few months because of my deep dive into Booktube. So I have a stack of books here. I haven't organized them by any sort of category or genre or anything. I'm just going to grab from the top and discuss a little bit about each of them. Some of them, to be honest, I may not remember really the summary. And I also have a few books on my Kindle that I've downloaded digitally that I don't have physical copies of, obviously, so I will be putting a picture of their book cover up when I get to those. Okay, so the first book I want to talk to you guys about in this book haul is The Night Swim by Megan Golden, and I have my bookmark in here because I have been listening to the audiobook. I started it today and I'm a little bit over halfway through with it. This one is about a podcaster. She's in her third season of her podcast and she's covering a trial of a young boy who is on the fast track to becoming an Olympian swimmer, and he has been accused of rape. So you get the perspective of Rachel, the podcaster, as she is going through and creating this podcast this third season. And then we also have the perspective of the podcast itself, which in the audiobook is fantastic. It sounds like you're listening to an actual podcast. It has sound effects, the music, she's talking, you hear her actually talking in the podcast. And then we get a third perspective, which is Hannah, who is a girl whose sister died mysteriously 25 years before, and she's asking for Rachel, the podcaster's assistance in finding out what actually happened to her sister all those years ago. So this one is fantastic so far, and I will definitely be discussing it more in my end of the month wrap up, and so you'll be hearing more from me about this one. The next books I got are out of a series, but they're companion novels. So I have Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert and Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert. So these stories are romance novels and the premise behind them just sounds so good. Chloe Brown, she has chronic pain and she, I believe, has moved into an apartment, and I think that, yes, the handyman in her apartment complex, it's kind of like a enemies to lovers kind of thing. So that's what this one got going on. And then in Take a Hint, Danny Brown is actually Chloe Brown's sister. So now we're focused on her. And I'm not entirely sure what this one is about, but I know that, oh, it says it's a fake relationship, fake dating, A+. Okay. So these two, I'm actually very excited. These I'm probably going to get to very soon because I like to take like my serious, deeper reads and then read something a little lighter, a little fluffier. Next, I have The Guest List by Lucy Foley, and this is a thriller, and it's about a wedding on an island and someone's murdered, and so obviously everyone becomes a suspect and we have to figure out who did it. Next is The Space Between Worlds, and I'm actually pretty excited about this. I haven't read too many sci-fi novels in the past, but this one just sounds so interesting. So it's multiverse travel. There's a rule: you can't travel into another world where your doppelganger or other self is alive. But this girl in this story has died 372 times in other worlds, so she can travel pretty frequently, but then her last few doppelgangers start dying off and she's kind of thrust into a mystery to figure out what exactly is going on. But I'm looking forward to this one. Next, I have 3 Perfect Liars by Heidi Perks. And this one is also another kind of thriller mystery. And it was on a list of anticipated reads for 2020. And it sounded really interesting to me. It's, Laura has returned to work at Morrison Wood after her maternity leave, only to discover that the woman she brought in to cover for her isn't planning to go anywhere. So then, I believe their company gets burned down. Yes, 3 ambitious women whose lives are turned upside down when a devastating fire destroys a successful advertising agency and threatens to expose a tangled web of lies. So I think they each probably become suspects in this fire of the agency that they work at. And it's another whodunit mystery, and I am a sucker for those. The next one is one that I'm actually looking forward to, but I don't really know much of the plot. A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. And fantasy is one of those genres that I did not realize how much I was missing out on until I started watching different booktube videos and different booktubers. And so I'm actually very excited to dive into my first Sarah J. Maas series. Next is one that I had heard things about, but I didn't really know much or how beloved it was until I got into Booktube, and that is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. And this book just sounds so powerful, and I know that it had such a huge effect on the book community when it was first published, and I am looking forward to reading it. It's a beautiful cover, this is a beautiful dust jacket, so I'm excited to have this. Next is E. Lockhart's We Were Liars, and I have read one story by E. Lockhart, and I was not a big fan, and I did not even realize that this person was the author until I got the book in the mail. But it says, a beautiful and distinguished family, a private island, a brilliant damaged girl, a passionate political boy, a group of 4 friends, the liars, whose friendship turns destructive. I believe that one of their friends dies, and they have to figure out which one. It's kind of a mystery whodunit. Once again, I'm a sucker for those. And this is a shorter one, so I feel a lot more confident going into it, since I wasn't a big fan of her previous novel that I had read. But hopefully, since it's a short one and it's more of a mystery than that other one was, I'll be able to enjoy this one. And next is one that I bought for educational purposes for myself. With everything that's been going on in the world, I felt it was my responsibility to read this book. That is How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi. This is a nonfiction. It says, anti-racism is a transformative concept that reorients and re-energizes the conversation about racism, and even more fundamentally points us toward liberating new ways of thinking about ourselves and each other. Okay, so the next one I have is Lady in the Lake by Laura Lippman, and this story is about a woman who takes a job at a newspaper, and her first story is about a Black woman whose body was discovered in the fountain of a city park lake, and the writer of the article about this woman is seemingly the only person who cares to find out why she died. It's written in 1966 Baltimore, so it's got a bit of a historical element. Obviously, that was a time when the world was very divisive and racism was very prominent, and I'm very interested to see how Maddie is the reporter's name in this story, goes about getting justice for this young woman and finding out what happened to her and how it could have an effect on those around her. Next is another romance, Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating by Christina Lauren, and it is, I think, a friends to lovers. Yes, they've known each other since college, and it says that he is recovering from a cheating girlfriend, and his life has been turned upside down, and going out with Hazel is a breath of fresh air because apparently she's very easygoing, funny, comical, and they've been friends for a long time. So this one I can't wait to read. It's going to be another light, fluffy one, and I've never personally read anything by Christina Lauren, but I know quite a few people who enjoy her, so I'm looking forward to this one. Next is another romance, The Worst Best Man by Mia Sosa. And this one is like an enemies to lovers, and somehow she ends up getting involved with the best man at her wedding, who I think they say ruined her wedding. So this one I think is going to be really cute, and I'm looking forward to it. I really enjoy fluffier romance novels that have this kind of enemies to lovers and friends to lovers kind of vibe to them. Another one, this next one is One of Us is Lying by Karen McManus, and I don't have the dust jacket with it. I got this on Thrift Books. It was my first experience on Thrift Books, and I did not realize that it said that it didn't have the dust jacket. So I'm a little saddened by that, but this is another kind of mystery whodunit. Something happens, someone's dead or hurt, and there's only a certain group of people who could have committed the crime, and it's all about finding out who did it. We're seeing a theme here. Next is Sarah Dessen's Saint Anything. Now, Sarah Dessen is one of my favorite young adult authors. I've read almost all of her books. I think there's just a few that I don't have, but this one I don't exactly know what it's about. I just know that I've always enjoyed her books. Her first book that I read was Truth About Forever, and then the other was Just Listen, and those books just made me fall in love with her as a writer, and I read everything that she comes out with, and I always enjoy them, and so I can't wait to get into this one as well. Okay, and the next one is another fantasy that I was actually really excited about, and I have already read this one, The Cruel Prince by Holly Black, and I don't really think I have to explain to anybody what this is about, but it is about Jude, who her parents are murdered, and she is kidnapped and taken to Feyland, where she is raised by the man who killed her parents, but she is wanting to be a knight. She wants to fit in to this new world that she has been brought up in, and so it is about her coming into that, and there's quite a bit of scandal, political upheaval, and treachery in this story, and it took me a little while to get into it because it did feel like we were kind of thrust into this fantasy world without any explanation of the creatures or how the world worked. But by the end of it, I was very interested in it, and I'm looking forward to finding out more about her and Carden's relationship, because that is who it is about. The Cruel Prince is Harden himself, so that's not really a spoiler, but it was good. I'm hoping that the second one is better. I know that a lot of people really love this series, and so I was really looking forward to it and really anticipated it, but I will talk more about this in my wrap up. And the next one I have is The Mother-in-Law, and this one is one I already read as well, and I had also listened to the audiobook. This is about Lucy, and her mother-in-law has passed away, and it's suspicious circumstances. She had breast cancer, supposedly, and then they find out she did not have breast cancer, so they're trying to determine what exactly killed her. It appears that she committed suicide, but there is evidence that says that that's not actually the case. And this book was interesting. It wasn't as much of a page turner as I thought it was going to be, but it was good, and I do recommend it for anyone who loves a bit of a mystery. It's less of a thriller, more of a mystery, but it is very good, and it's set in Australia, which was new and interesting. The audiobook also has an Australian speaker, so that was cool. The next one I have also already read, and it was for educational purposes as well. So You Want to Talk About Race by Ijeoma Oluwo. I think I learned quite a bit, and I'm gonna keep it close to me because it has quite a bit of information that I like to go back to when I am discussing this topic with people, and I do recommend this one for anyone who is looking for something that discusses the topic of race and systemic racism in the United States. The next one I have is Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson, and you know, I think this has a bit of a mystery in it, but I'm not entirely sure what it was about. I do know that I promise I read these plot lines before I buy books, but I know this is part of a series, and I do enjoy series, so I picked this up and I'm looking forward to getting into it. The next one I have is All We Ever Wanted by Emily Giffin. And I read Emily Giffin's Something Borrowed, and I actually really enjoyed it. So when I found out about this one, I wanted to pick it up because I knew that I enjoyed her writing. But I'm not entirely, I don't really remember what this one was about, to be honest. Something about the elite and a photograph and scandalous things happening. So that should be pretty interesting. Less murder mystery than what we've been seeing in my stack over here. And then the last physical book I have is my book of the month choice for September, and it is Winter Counts by David Heska Wombly Wyden. And this one is a mystery, and it sounds pretty interesting, actually. It's on an Indian reservation. Heroine makes its way onto the reservation and finds Virgil's nephew. His vigilantism suddenly becomes personal. So they're trying to find out where the drugs are coming from, and they follow a lead to Denver and find that the drug cartels are rapidly expanding. And the books just fell. So this should be really interesting. I, as weird as it sounds, enjoy learning about the details of the drug cartels, and this is going to be, I think, an interesting topic. And the fact that it's on an Indian reservation, like, that's something that you don't really hear much about in books. So I'm looking forward to it. Virgil Wounded Horse is his name. Love it. Now for the digital books I have Girl Gone Mad by Avery Bishop, which was actually my pick for my August First Reads book. And it is about a group of girls. They tease this one girl. I think they tease her pretty seriously, and something bad goes down, and then they disband. Their group of friends disbands, and then years later they start dying off, and it seems like maybe that girl that they had teased has come back to hurt them. So it's kind of a mystery, trying to figure out what exactly is happening to them. And then I'm assuming there's going to be a mystery too, to figure out what exactly happened to the girl. I don't think we're going to find out exactly what they did to her up front. So I'm looking forward to that one. And I always enjoy Amazon First Reads choices for the mystery thriller. They're always really interesting, and I found some really good stories through First Reads that I would have never picked up had they not been on that list. And the other one I have is Make Me Hate You by Candy Steiner, which is a adult romance, and it's years later now, and her best friend is getting married, so she has to go back to the town and face her brother, her best friend's brother, and face the embarrassment that had happened to her with him years ago when he broke her heart. And it's a very, very quick read. I think I read it within like 24 hours. It was enjoyable. So then I have Roommate by Sarah Wilson. First Reads called it a romantic comedy. And that's something you don't really see on Amazon First Reads choices. And so I can't really remember what the synopsis was about, but it did sound pretty interesting, and I liked that they actually had a romantic comedy on the list, so I immediately chose that one. And the other one I have is The Pool Boy by Nikki Sloan, which is a bit more of a scandalous, taboo read. It is an adult romance. I read it just within the last day. It is about a young man. He works for this older woman who's actually twice his age. She's 42 and he's 24, and it is his mom's best friend, actually. And he cleans her pool, and they end up hooking up and falling in love. And the story is about that and the lies that they have to tell his mom, obviously. And then there's an element that I didn't even know existed in it. That's a bit of a spoiler. I can't tell you that. So that's why I didn't know it existed. That makes sense. So that's all the books I have for this book haul, guys. And I thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it, and maybe you found some books that you're interested in reading. And I will have another video coming soon. We are going to, if you can see, I don't know if you can see these boards over here. We're going to be filming my bookshelf. We're building my bookshelf. So I'll be filming that and sharing it with you guys. And then I'll also be filming my organization video of that bookshelf when I actually get it built. So thank you again for watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful day and see you later. Bye.